not only is he her ex-stepbrother, but there's more of an age gap here than what I thought. Meet Sarah and Samantha.
Two cousins obsessed with exploring the vast pop culture landscape, one recommendation at a time.
In each episode, one clueless cousin shares real-time reactions as they navigate the twists and turns of a pop culture topic selected by the other.
From travel to movies,
Little Debbie's to trashy novels.
Get ready to eavesdrop on the candid reactions and dynamic conversations you can only have with family.
This is Foreign and Familiar.
Welcome to Foreign and Familiar. I am Samantha.
And I'm Sarah.
Sarah, your hair looks amazing. It's so good to see your face, as always.
Thank you.
It's shorter.
It is a little bit shorter. I got about an inch taken off, and then with the curls, it really looks short, which is some of
the pictures that I was looking at the other day of us in Portugal, your hair was so long.
Oh my gosh, it was so long.
Speaking of things that made a conscious decision to make an investment on, what a tee up for today's another new Little Debbie offering. This is what, the third or fourth that we've covered this season alone?
Exactly. Yes. I think it's the third. I think it's the fourth this season. They've just been really putting them out, which is great.
Well, and we also know we have to do a dive on this, hopefully for a future episode this season, the pumpkin spice oatmeal cream pie, which is a brand new offering, is set to drop. It's August now, so it should be in stores. So that's something we absolutely need to look for.
Yes.
But today we have a really interesting entry. So Sarah, without further ado, what are we reviewing today?
So today we are reviewing the old-fashioned donut. This is a cake-style donut coated with a sweet glaze. Spoiler alert, it is the donut stick, but in a full donut shape.
And Sarah, the reason why I mentioned the investment here is because we are, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, running out of Little Debbie's. And so while we are preparing to record these episodes, we are texting more so, not even necessarily about, hey, have you had a chance to watch this, read this, are you ready to go? It's more, have you been able to find and or locate these new Little Debbie's? And these old-fashioned donuts are just not available in Pittsburgh right now. Sarah has the privilege of being near a Giant Eagle. And they have an expansive Little Debbie selection. But my understanding, Sarah, is that the local Giant Eagle is undergoing construction. And so they've downsized the Little Debbie offerings.
Yeah, well, our Walmart is is under reconstruction, which is totally fine. I visited a couple in the last few months looking for these old-fashioned donuts, and it seems like it's a regional thing, so we must just all be getting an upgrade. But usually, if I can't find it at Giant Eagle, I can find it at Walmart. And the few times that I've been, and I've gone a lot to try to find these, the Little Debbie section is either just completely gone or it's moved. And so I have had zero luck. I've had family members out looking for these as well. Group texts going out. If anybody finds the old-fashioned donut, please let me know because I need it. And no luck, but you had much better luck than I did this time, Sam.
Well, when we talk about the investment, what I ended up doing was ordering a box for me and a box for you off of Amazon. And for our family listeners to understand how committed we are, each box, not the total of both boxes, each box was $13.44.
Oh my gosh.
Which is insane. It's absolutely insane, but it's the only way that we could get them. So this is a $26 review today, which is a little bit different from what we do in the past. But Sarah, what did you think about the old-fashioned donut, which is a new offering?
We were both fans of the donut stick. And again, the flavor is very similar. So I was a big fan. In general, I am more of a fan of cake donuts than like a yeast donut. So already, before I even took a bite, this was ranking higher than a lot of donuts that I've had. I thought it was really good. I think these are definitely a staple that I would love to keep around the house for breakfast. I love that, they're individually packaged, don't really have to worry about them drying out. My issue, and I think we've talked about this with a lot of the new entries this time, is just the calorie count, but it is a donut, so that is to be expected. I think it was like 360 around there, so it is a little bit on the higher side, and I can't remember what the donut sticks were to kind of compare. But that's my only complaint, is the calorie count. But if you're going to eat a donut, you're already investing in that anyway.
I thought that these donuts were absolutely unbelievable. Next level. Again, we like the donut sticks, so to have a gigantic donut, and I will say these are only in the big packs, and they're really big for those calories. I will say it is higher on the calorie, but I felt like it was worth every single calorie, and I was one stop short from eating the plastic package to make sure I got every single crumb. What I love about it is when you say it's a cake donut, it's like gas station greasy enough that the saliva on your tongue makes it disintegrate and break into 1,000 pieces as soon as you don't even need your teeth for these things. Yeah. I mean, obviously we recommend for all of our family listeners that they chew their food and chew their food well, no, but these donuts they were really good. I mean, I felt like they were unbelievable. Lots of glaze on them. Again, I think worth the calorie counts. I had some friends visiting when I was not here. They stayed at my place, and there were a couple donuts left in the box. And if I texted them once, I texted them 17 times. Please eat the Little Debbie donuts, because I have zero self-control and I didn't need to be racking up 360s all the time.
Right.
However, yes, staple, would do it for breakfast, would absolutely eat one if you guys had them there. This one is worth seeking out 100%.
For sure. Absolutely. And so I think of my donut ranking system. I think a Sheetz chocolate old-fashioned cake donut is pretty high up there for me. I'm going to say that that's my number 1 slot. My number 2 slot would be a blueberry cake donut from Krispy Kreme, which is also stellar. And their pumpkin spice cake donut is coming out in a couple of weeks, which I'm super thrilled about. But then I think the number 3 slot might go to this Little Debbie donut, because it truly is. I like that you compared it to a gas station donut.
All of the new ones have been winners so far, so I cannot wait, Little Debbie. We have just a handful of episodes left this season, but we're going to just continue to monitor and try them. And it was worth, I have to say, it was worth the $13.44. Would I be doing that regularly? No. If I saw them in the grocery store, I'll pick them up for whatever the price is in the grocery store. But
not $13.44.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't pay $13.44 for 6 of them again. However, I would pay the average standard price at retail that they would go for. And oh gosh, that would be great on Supermarkets Week or Price is Right. Speaking of things that are maybe only the affluent can access right now in this moment, do we have a doozy of a topic for today? And this is a little bit of a unique topic because it's a hybrid mix of a recommendation from Sarah that then ended up morphing into a recommendation from me. So Sarah, without further ado, what are we discussing today?
So today we are talking about Jane Austen's classic novel, Emma, in addition to the 1995 classic movie, Clueless, which I didn't know that they were connected until we started having this conversation for the pod. So I'm super excited to talk about it.
When I was reading the book, so Sarah gave me this book to read, and I was reading it. What great story. Last year. And I started thinking, I'm pretty sure that this is mirroring Clueless. And I had maybe heard in the past that it was derivative of it, but I wasn't sure. And as I started going through the book, and I Googled it at that point, of course, I saw that it was. And then I had asked Sarah, have you seen Clueless? She hadn't. So we just felt like you could not talk to one without the other, because arguably, and we'll share some cultural notes here, but arguably Clueless is as iconic in its own right, like clearly the most successful adaptation of Emma, no questions asked.
Right.
But it might even be more well known in this century and in the zeitgeist than the source material. So we just kind of felt like we had to do both. So this is a first time for us where it's a reaction for both of us, but we were familiar with the initial source material. So a little bit of a different one today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into it, though. This was, we had just some very not detailed conversation leading up to this, but I was really excited to dive more into our topic once we made these connections.
So Sarah, going back to the beginning when you recommended Emma, the book, why did you recommend it to me, and why do you think that I would like it?
So Emma is my favorite Jane Austen heroine. And we'll get into kind of some of the cultural notes in just a minute, which will kind of echo some of my thoughts about it. I think I love all of the female leads in her novels. I think that they are all inspirational in some way. What
Elizabeth
I love about
Bennet.
Yes, Elizabeth Bennet is definitely up there as well. I think what I loved about Emma so much is that she seemed more relatable than some of the other characters, because these novels were written in the 1800s. I think Emma was published in 1815, 1816. And so a lot of the things that these characters are going through are just very different from the way we live our lives now. I mean, think the whole like relationship between Elizabeth and Darcy. And I mean, at its core, sure, we get it. But at the same time, the whole I can't be in love with you because of your family status isn't quite the same as what we have going on today.
It might not be as removed as you think, but I would agree. Yes.
Right.
It definitely later we have evolved somewhat as a society.
Yes,
I would agree.
Yes. So I thought that Emma was the most relatable character because of her flaws, which I thought still mirror a lot of what I think I was going through as a young teenager, reading this, experiencing this for the first time. And I think her growth as a character is really great. And that's one of the things that made me love her. So I pass that along to you, Sam, as my favorite Jane Austen novel, because I know that you read and enjoyed Pride and Prejudice. We've talked about Pride and Prejudice in the past. And when you said that you weren't familiar with this one, I wanted to pass along my girl to you to read.
Absolutely. Emma had been on my list for a while. I remember there was a Gwyneth Paltrow version in the mid 90s. And I think Anya Taylor-Joy just did one a couple years ago. So I really was not familiar with this source material. And I thought, yeah, why not? I love Jane Austen. I'm not as familiar with her work as you are. I don't have a Funko Pop Jane Austen in my living room like you do.
And I now have a Lego set.
Oh, okay. Amazing. So you love the theme. Your girl loves the theme. So cultural notes, Sarah, what do people have to know about Emma if they are not familiar with it?
So as I kind of alluded to, she does go through a lot of growth in the novel. She was purposefully created to be an unlikable character. So when Jane Austen was writing this, she was quoted as saying, I'm going to design this character who I think I'm the only person that's going to like her. Nobody else is going to like her. This was
alert, I don't like her. So this is news that you're telling me this, because if that's the goal, she bullseyed.
She did it.
Middle of the target. Yeah.
You're not the only one though, Sam. So this was her last novel published before she passed away. Persuasion, which I think is her last official novel, was published after her death. So Emma was the last one that she lived to see published. And it did not do well. She was given a deal to publish Mansfield Park, which she had finished previously, and Emma for a set amount of money. And she said, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the commission as it comes in, probably thinking that it was going to do as well as her other books. And I think by the time she passed away, she had only earned like 38 pounds for 1,500-ish copies that had sold. So you are not the only one who wasn't a fan of Emma Woodhouse.
It's not even her, because once I could put the Clueless spin into it, I was looking forward. Do you watch Downton Abbey? Have you watched Downton Abbey?
Oh, yes.
And you're obsessed.
Yeah. I'm obsessed, but it just needs to end at this point, because the finale was a couple of years ago and now we're getting another finale, and I'm a little bit over it. But yes, I have watched everything Downton Abbey. So
I would say I've never watched Downton Abbey, so that could potentially be one. But I think my perception of Downton Abbey is characters overhearing things in doorways that other characters are talking about. And then that it's like a whole series of that, and that's all of the action. And that's what I feel like Emma is. It's about 50 pages of just dialogue, like where it just doesn't feel like much happens. What else do people need to know, Sarah?
So I think just the last thing that I have here is something else that kind of separates Emma from the other main characters in Jane Austen's novel, is that she is the only main character who is the top of the social ladder in her world, whereas all of the other characters fall somewhere closer to the bottom. That's kind of the last thing that separates her from the rest of it. So I think that wraps up what we need to know about Emma, so we can dive into the Clueless aspect of it.
Lots of things to talk about from a cultural reference on Clueless. So as we said a little bit earlier, Clueless is marking and celebrating its 30th anniversary this year in 2025. It had an all-star cast. It made a lot of A-list celebrities, including Alicia Silverstone, Paul Rudd, who looks exactly the same. He's a vampire. He never ages.
Yes.
Brittany Murphy, R.I.P., Donald Faison, Pre-Scrubs, Breckin Meyer, Stacey Dash, Wallace Shawn from,
Princess Bride
and everybody else, and Jeremy Sisto as well. The adaptation spurred a lot of cultural visual moments and phrases, the biggest one being as if in the mid-90s. And of course, Alicia Silverstone's yellow plaid skirt suit is referenced in high fashion still to this day. That is the image. I think she just repurposed Cher Horowitz in a Super Bowl commercial a year ago, and that's the outfit she was wearing. That's what people still do for Halloween. That's the Barbie doll. So, right. And it's that scene in the beginning where she's trying to match the clothes in her very dated now, but at the time it was very awesome wardrobe picker, right? And so that yellow plaid is pretty famous. I would say that I watched Clueless a million times growing up. It was on HBO one of the summers, and we had the channels where it was HBO East and HBO West. So we would watch the whole thing, have an hour, and then watch it again coming in on HBO West. So I could recite it. All four of my siblings could recite this from beginning to end, playing the various parts. And so really generational. I mean, that's Gen X all the way down to millennials. But I think the bigger thing about Clueless is after the movie, it became a TV series, and pretty much the entire cast came back together with the exception of Alicia Silverstone. They recast her with Rachel Blanchard, who had been on some of, I don't know, Saved by the Bell, The New Class, or Hang Time. Do any of those, do you know California Dreams? Did you ever watch California Dreams?
No.
Okay, so we're uncovering new topics because I was obsessed with California Dreams. But she was on one of those types of B-list teen shows that we had. And she actually was fantastic as Cher, I will say. I mean, obviously no one's as good as Alicia Silverstone.
Right.
But the show ran, I think, 5, 6, 7 years, and it made the crossover from the WB to the CW. It was half hours. They extended the life of the movie. It was actually really good. I enjoyed it. There's a Clueless musical. There are comic books. There's a video game. And so Clueless has really made its mark on society. And I love to see some of the similarities, talk about reinventing the source material 175 years later and becoming a beloved icon.
It's so interesting that, and I mean, I guess it's hard for me to say because I wasn't in the height of the popularity when it first came out, but it's so interesting that it feels like not a whole lot of connection has been made between Clueless and Emma. It feels like there should be many more Emma fans because they fell in love with Clueless first, and I just don't get that feeling. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really get that vibe. Although Emma probably has more adaptations than any of the other Jane Austen novels. I can think of at least 3 or 4 off the top of my head. Pride and Prejudice only has 2. I don't know if it was just we gotta keep trying till we get the right combination of people and the right cast and the right production, or if it's just we love it so much we want to keep adapting it. But it is interesting to me that it doesn't seem like it gets more hype because of Clueless.
Like I said, as I was reading it, it was something that popped up from the recesses of my brain.
Right.
I thought, have I actually read that this is connected to Clueless? So yeah, well, that can be something that we're on a mission to do, is to get the source material in front of as many people as possible. But
exactly. It's almost completely identical.
Well, Sarah, I'm so excited for us to jump in and go through this timeline of Emma / Clueless when we get back from the break.
We are talking Emma / Clueless, pretty much the same thing, except one's in the 1800s and one's in 1995. So let's kind of go through the plot. As we mentioned before the break, it's pretty much the same. So we'll kind of start with the plot of Emma and then add in any bits of information about Clueless as we go.
Sarah, as the Jane Austen file, will be the one anchoring the discussion on the Emma side, and I will provide the Valley Girl color commentary on Clueless for our family listeners, just so you know.
That tracks. That fits our personalities very well.
I was going to say that too.
Kicking things off, our main character, our heroine, Emma Woodhouse, she is high society in this town that she lives in. She, in the beginning, is dealing with her governess, Miss Taylor, marrying Mr. Weston, and she prides herself that this is a match that she made because she is so observant and such an excellent matchmaker. And of course, her father, who, I mean, he kind of enables her, but kind of doesn't in this moment. Her family friend, Mr. Knightley, is like, I don't think that you did that, but whatever. And of course, Emma, very headstrong, very stubborn, can't be talked out of it. So she insists that she made this match and she is destined to be a matchmaker.
Over on the Clueless side of it, Emma is Cher Horowitz, played by Alicia Silverstone. She is Beverly Hills, really rich. I think she's a sophomore in high school. Her dad is actually the sleeper character of my favorite character in Clueless, because he's just such a grump, but he has some heart in it. He's a high-powered attorney and a lawyer. And the first 20 minutes of the movie, Cher ends up hooking up to teachers in the high school with an ulterior motive of making them fall in love and be in a better mood so that the grades go better so that she can get an A. So it is a little bit self-serving on that. And the role of Mr. Knightley, who is the family friend in the book, is played by Paul Rudd. He is Josh in Clueless. And I never have loved it, is the ex-stepbrother of Cher. So essentially the dad and Josh's mom were divorced. They were never biological children. They both went into the marriage each with a kid. And I do think they address it at the very beginning. Alicia Silverstone says to her dad, well, why is he so here? Why is he coming over? And her dad says, you divorce wives, not children. And that's why. So that's kind of nice. He plays a crunchy granola guy in college, and his name is Josh. We might get Marky Mark to plant a celebrity tree. Sorry.
I also thought the stepbrother angle was a little bit weird.
It's just a choice.
It is a choice. Although in Emma, he's technically her brother-in-law because his younger brother is married to her older sister. So there is that weird family connection, but it feels like stepbrother is weirder than brother-in-law because that happens a lot.
Stepbrother. Yeah, but no, I get it. It's a little icky. It's a little icky.
It is a little icky. Now that Emma has made this match, she's confident in her matchmaking abilities, and her governess no longer has to spend every waking minute entertaining her. She is on the hunt for a new friend. And so she meets Harriet, who is not in the same social status as Emma. She is pretty low on the ladder in terms of social standing, but Emma has decided she's going to kind of make a project out of Harriet and kind of turn her into a as high society of a lady as she can, in the hopes that she can make a good match with Harriet. So now she's on a hunt for a nice guy for her friend.
The Harriet character in Clueless, of course, is Ty, played by Brittany Murphy. She transfers schools, and she's a little bit of a stoner. It's West Coast still, but maybe Oregon chic, lots of flannel, dyed red hair, which quite frankly, I went through that phase in my mid-20s, so I did not learn the lesson. She likes to draw Marvin the Martian, and just really, I feel like the popular group would never look at her twice. And Cher, Alicia Silverstone, and Dion, who I don't know if she has a direct core character in Emma, but they decide that they're going to adopt her. They're going to make her popular. They're going to give her a makeover and cue a really awesome little montage scene of them making her over to that banger of a song, I'm Gonna Be a Supermodel, which we'll play a clip of right now.
I don't care what my teachers say. I'm gonna be a supermodel.
Going back to the novel, Harriet is, I would say, pretty quickly attracted to a farmer, Robert Martin, which Emma shuts down really quickly. Not the station that Harriet should be aspiring to. She can do better. And so the man that she sets her sights on for Harriet is Mr. Elton, the local minister, who, I mean, I think Jane Austen, I'm pretty sure her dad was a pastor or a minister of some sorts. So it's interesting that we have these characters like Mr. Collins in Pride and Prejudice, who is, I don't even know how to, I don't want to say he's slimy because he's really not, but he's just so awkward.
They're living by a very specific code. I mean, obviously, if they're clergy, they're just stuffy, I would say.
I would say Mr. Elton isn't quite as interesting as Mr. Collins. He's obviously painted as a little more attractive in Emma's mind, but she is working really hard to make connections for Harriet. There's a bunch of things that happen where he offers to have a picture painted of her and really is just trying to win Emma's affections because I actually don't really know if he's truly interested in her or just interested in her station, but that is where his sights are set. And so that leads to some heartbreak for Harriet when that is all discovered and they realize he never truly cared about her. He was more interested in Emma, which of course she was not on board with at all. At this point, she has kind of decided that she's not interested in any relationship whatsoever.
That's mirrored on the Clueless side. And so, Sarah, it was actually through this series of interactions with Mr. Elton that the light bulb went on, maybe about 7,500 pages into the book, where I said, oh, I think this is Clueless, because Ty, Brittany Murphy, is interested in Travis, who is Breckin Meyer, who is so cute in this movie. He really is very adorable, I thought.
Oh, I totally agree. And he's like so subtly heartbroken when Ty doesn't really want to hang out with him anymore or express interest, and it made me so sad.
And Ty said she liked him, and they say, no, you don't like him, and who's available? And sure enough, Jeremy Sisto's Elton is available, which, yeah, when I saw the name Elton, I was like, oh. And it's just interesting how they updated a little bit. So like you said, they were doing a painting and a portrait of Harriet that they thought they were going to hang Harriet. In Clueless, Cher is taking photos of Ty, and Elton asks, can I have a copy of this picture? And it's hanging in his locker. And so everybody assumes that he's into Ty because it's hanging in his locker. In the book, the mural's hanging above the fireplace. And then he really corrects Alicia Silverstone and says, no, it's the picture that you took that's in my locker. And that's why it's in my locker, which I would argue in both scenarios, hanging a portrait of another woman because the woman that you're really interested in either painted it or took a photo.
It's a stretch.
It's odd. Yeah, I think it's a little bit odd. Ty gets upset. And of course, you spend the next half hour, 40 minutes trying to get Ty and Elton together. And then you have the fallout that he's interested in Cher. What I would say is, to your point, Sarah, that I think that we've maybe missed at the beginning on both of these, but you just hit it a little bit, is that Emma at the very beginning of the book and Cher all throughout the movie is very much, I'm good being single. I think guys are a waste of time, but really they love to do the matchmaking. So with Miss Geist and Wallace Shawn, Elton and Ty, over on Emma's side, the other couples that she was doing, but they never express any interest in finding a match for themselves.
Right, which at least for Emma, I think is really a sign of the station that she's in, because a lot of the other heroines are in this position where they maybe kind of have to find a husband because that's how you were financially stable at the time. And she's in a position where she says, my dad's taking care of me. I have enough money. I don't need to worry about it. I'm good. I don't need a guy. I'm okay the way I am.
I think what's really funny is Clueless really updates all of these monologues with very modern, funny, like the writing is so good. What's very cool, and I think I'm making this connection right now that I hadn't made before when I said, oh, there's so much dialogue and nothing happens and nothing happens. A lot of these conversations in Clueless, I think, are repurposed through the speech class, which is hilarious. Alicia Silverstone gets to talk about it does not say RSVP on the Statue of Liberty. Breckin Meyer gets to accept a fake award for being the most tardy in class. So I think, now that we're talking right now, it is interesting how rich all that dialogue is.
Moving forward with the plot, when Emma kind of discovers that Mr. Elton is interested in her, she shuts that down very quickly. He almost as quickly leaves to find a wife and is successful in doing so. And I think she's kind of just as stuffy and stuck up and wanting to be of a higher social status as he is, which in most of the adaptations of Emma that I have seen and in the novel, she's given a little more personality than in Clueless, but totally cool. So Emma kind of moves on with her plan. She finds out that Mr. Weston's son, Frank Churchill, who has been living with an aunt and uncle and took their name in gratitude for all of the support that they've been giving him, is coming to visit. And so a lot is leading up to Frank Churchill's arrival. And I would say that Emma, whenever she finally meets him and spends time with him, starts to develop some feelings for Frank Churchill.
Frank Churchill comes to Beverly Hills in the form of Christian. I don't even know who the actor is, but he is a popular boy who splits half the year with one of the parents in Switzerland and half the year with one of the parents in Beverly Hills. They do a little bit of a nod at the very beginning of the movie when Wallace Shawn is doing roll call and Cher explains that. So it kind of lays the groundwork for Christian to come in And he is a classic Hollywood metrosexual, dresses really nice, old bouffant hair, and Cher pretty much falls head over heels for him as soon as he arrives. So it becomes her trying to find ways to be in his eyesight, drop a pencil for him to pick it up for her. And she just decides to start, I would say, kind of pursuing him, or at least showing as much interest as possible in Christian.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the next part of Emma is kind of where all of the relationships kind of start to get really muddy and confusing as everyone's feelings and perceptions are kind of intertwining. So Emma is developing feelings for Frank Churchill. She believes Harriet is developing feelings for him as well. Mr. Knightley is very observant and notices that another character that we're introduced to, Jane Fairfax, who is living with her aunt, the Miss Bates, and Frank Churchill seem to have a weird connection, which doesn't make sense for two people who are supposedly really meeting for the first time, spending time together for the first time, though they may have had an acquaintance in the past. Harriet starts to develop feelings for Mr. Knightley. Emma thinks that maybe Mr. Knightley is interested in Jane. And so it becomes kind of this big, complicated web of feelings and relationships that everyone's involved in. And I think at a certain point, Emma starts to really kind of look inward and figure out, does anybody's opinion of her actually matter? And if so, whose opinion is it? And does she need to do anything to kind of change that? And that kind of all culminates, I think, when she makes some pretty rude comments to Miss Bates, who is single, not super financially stable. It's kind of a touchy subject for her. And Emma just really pokes fun of her. Mr. Knightley, and my favorite adaptation of the movie starring Kate Beckinsale, he says, "That was very badly done, Emma." That kind of triggers some reflection on her part.
Yes, it was cruel and it was unnecessary. And she felt like making her feel bad. And she picked on, quite frankly, the weakest link, which,
exactly, yes.
Again, not very likable, not super likable at all. I think this is probably where it deviates the most from the Clueless side. So Cher ends up being interested in Christian. So this is the Emma and the Frank Churchill of it. And rather than there be another person that in the book, which we'll get to, Frank and Jane end up having some sort of secret courtship, and it's been long going, and he was kind of flirting with Emma just for appearances, so she kind of feels how that feels. In Clueless, Christian ends up being gay, so it's just a non-starter of a relationship opportunity. Speaking on the Harriet and Mr. Knightley part of it, that becomes Ty, Brittany Murphy, ending up having a crush on Paul Rudd's Josh. And a lot of this all plays out at that Mighty Mighty Boss Tones party, where I think, now that I'm thinking of it, of course, mimics the dance where all of this happens in Emma, but right. Ty isn't asked to dance the entire night, and Josh ends up going over and wanting her to be included, and Cher ends up seeing that and thinking, that's so nice. He's doing her a solid. He doesn't want her to be sitting on the sideline all night. And then I remember Christian just says something like, it's clear why he doesn't dance, or something like that. I mean, Christian's character is really awesome.
He's amazing.
And I think that the switch off, though, is it's not necessarily Cher that does something mean. I mean, maybe she picks on no, it's not Cher that does something mean. It's Ty that ends up saying one of the most iconic insults of all time.
I was like, why am I even listening to you to begin with? You're a virgin who can't drive.
Oh, that was way harsh, Ty.
Horrendous. However, that does spur the reflection that happens over on the other side with Emma.
In Emma, it's the same thing. There's a ball. Harriet is snubbed by Mr. Elton. Mr. Knightley catches it and steps in to save her the humiliation. And Emma, in her 1815 language, thought the same thing. He's doing her a solid. And to Harriet, however, that was much more than a solid. She was developing feelings for Mr. Knightley. And of course, word about Frank Churchill and Jane Fairfax being engaged is all kind of being explained at this point. He wasn't sure how his aunt and uncle would react to that engagement. He didn't want to lose any of his financial stability, and so they had kept it a secret at the time, which, again, using kind of Emma for appearances, pretty sleazy on his part.
Jane ends up saying, yeah, go ahead and make her think that maybe you like her. That'll be a great cover. But then they're like staring longingly at each other, like definitely something was going on.
Right.
She was very willing, though, to go along with it and deceive everyone. So
I think she's just head over heels and truthfully would have probably agreed to end. Like, if he was like, I'm going to fully court Emma, she probably would have been like, okay.
What I'm saying, though, Sarah, is that water finds its level. This is probably a good point for us to go to break. When we come back, we will finish out Clueless and Emma.
Up Clueless and Emma. So as we talked about before we left, a lot of events have kind of spurred this self-reflection in Emma and also in Cher. And so it's kind of at this point that Emma realizes she has feelings for Mr. Knightley. He has really challenged her every time that she's been insufferable, which, let's be honest, it's a lot, but that's why I love her. He has pointed out all of her flaws. He has, not put up with any of her nonsense, but continues to care about her and continues to put up with her. And that's not really the case for a lot of other people, especially because of her status. I think there's a lot of people who are afraid to offend her because they don't want to be on her bad side with the level of power that she kind of wields in society. And he does not have that fear at all. He's a little bit older. He is financially stable. He knows who she is at her core. And he is just saying it like it is and telling her all of the things that she is doing wrong. And I think she really grows to appreciate that and realizes that she has a lot of growing up to do. She's done a lot of wrong things and sets out to fix those, with no hope of him reciprocating any feelings because she believes that he is attached to Jane Fairfax at one point and Harriet. And so she doesn't expect anything in return. But of course, he is just as head over heels for her as she is for him, despite all of her flaws. And so we get a lovely Jane Austen love confession at the end. And Harriet gets her happily ever after with Robert Martin, the guy she should have been with since the beginning. And everyone kind of ends up with the person they're supposed to be with.
Over on the Clueless side, I think it's a little bit less streamlined, maybe, when Ty confesses to Alicia Silverstone that she has a crush on Josh. And Alicia Silverstone asks questions on, do you think he likes you? I don't really know that you're a good fit. And then, of course, we've already played the iconic line. Alicia Silverstone ends up really doing a lot of reflection on, well, why does this bother me so much? Why would I not want Ty and Josh to be together? And she comes to the realization, it's a really funny moment when like the big fountain comes on behind her. And she realizes that she has a crush on Josh. She loves him. And for the same reasons, he really does let her be who she is, but doesn't take any of her guff. So at this juncture, Ty and Cher are not really talking that much. So she's hanging out with Josh more. And what ends up happening is Ty and Alicia Silverstone make up, and she ends up with Breckenmeyer, which again, exactly the same as the book. The scene with when her and Paul Rudd end up hooking up is still just kind of creepy and weird and awkward. And that's just all I would say on it. He kisses her and then sees, is this copacetic? And she says yes. And yeah, they cut to a wedding, which is so funny. And it's the two teachers from the beginning that she had set up. So
which she's like in the wedding, right? She's
all of the girls are in the wedding and all of the guys are there. So you have Leon and Murray, which Donald Faison is hilarious in this movie.
So funny.
You have Breckenmeyer and Brittany Murphy, and then you have Alicia Silverstone and Paul Rudd, and they really make out at the end of the movie, like a lot.
Well, and so
I like the song that plays, though. Again, soundtrack's 10 out of 10.
Stellar.
Yeah.
So I don't think at the beginning they say how old she is. We just know she's in high school and that Josh is in college. So I think throughout the entire movie, I was like, oh, she's the senior and he's like maybe a freshman or something. And I guess that's not super weird. But then she's like a freshman in college.
I think she's a sophomore.
She's a freshman or a sophomore. And so they make that very clear at the end. And so I'm just like, not only is he her ex-stepbrother, but there's more of an age gap here than what I thought, which is it's probably still only like 3 years, but that would make her 16, and it's a little iffy.
I was 17 and my boyfriend was in college and he was 21. I was in the back half of the year.
Right.
And he was old for his age for a year. So
Gotcha.
We actually had met. I was a sophomore and he was a senior.
Got it.
And we did not date until I was a senior and then he was a sophomore in college.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't feel weird at the time.
Sure.
And I don't think it's weird now because we've known each other for so long.
Mm-hmm.
The hurdle for me is the stepbrother thing versus the age. I think we could definitely layer in the age on it, but the first thing that we have to address is the stepbrother thing.
For sure. That is the more pressing issue than the age. Yeah.
That pretty much wraps up Emma and Clueless. I think Sarah, I don't know how we're going to close this out because
I don't know, because we can't ask our usual questions. Well, I guess, Sam, I can ask you this question. So now you've read Pride and Prejudice, you've read Emma. So that leaves Persuasion, Mansfield Park, Northanger Abbey, Sense and Sensibility.
I do know Sense and Sensibility, and I love Sense and Sensibility.
Okay.
And did you know that there's a new Sense and Sensibility getting ready to come out?
I did, and I'm so excited.
I think I know where you're going with the question. I think I need to read Persuasion. I don't know about any of the other ones. I think I would tell people to watch Clueless instead of read the book, Emma, for what we've talked about before. I think that they never really make Cher the villain the way that they make Emma the villain, and they kind of just play it off as she's a Beverly Hills girl that's self-absorbed that then all of a sudden learns that other people matter too. So
other people have feelings.
Yeah, she has a heart of gold. I love it when at the end of Clueless, Cher's getting involved in charity drives and she says, "Oh, I'm going to donate." The dad says, "What are you doing with your skis?" And she says, "I'm the head of the Pismo Beach Disaster Relief President, and I'm donating them." And he goes, "I don't think that they need your skis." And she says, "Dad, these people have lost everything. Don't you think that includes athletic equipment?" So she's got this like heart of gold where she's ditzy, but she can be self-reflective.
Yeah.
I don't even really think at the end though, I don't know. Emma's rebuke of the one that Harriet ends up with in the Mr. Martin is, I think, so much more severe than Cher's rebuke of Travis. Emma just runs this guy down within an inch of his life, saying, well, you're associated with me and you can find something better, and I don't want to be associated with you if you're dating him. I mean, it's really cruel. It really is.
Emotional manipulation on her part, for sure. You're exactly right with the whole, like, I don't know that I can associate with you if you're a farmer's wife. I just don't know that we could be friends anymore.
It's very sad.
It is.
But how about you? Would you recommend Clueless, or do you plan to watch it at all and get it into your rotation?
So here's the thing with Clueless. I think it was just slightly, it's in like a weird pocket where it didn't quite fit in things that I was watching at the time. So I think like when I was a teenager, like, or not even a teenager, I guess more like when I was a kid, like Princess Diaries was super popular. I'm thinking of like girly movies, Princess Diaries. There was a Lindsay Lohan Disney movie, Get a Clue, which I thought Clueless was somehow related to for the longest.
100%. Love Lindsay Lohan. Here for the Lohan renaissance.
Yeah.
You know, her coming back. She looks amazing. She's had fantastic. It's not that you have work done. She's had fantastic work done. Like, good for her. Yes.
Yeah. Totally agree. So I think Clueless is it's more mature than those for sure. And so it just kind of never landed right wherever I was, and I just missed it. And I'm so sad that I did, because I loved it. And I've watched it at least 3 times
wow.
since talking about it. But I mean, you know how much I love Emma. So I think nothing is going to beat a good Emma adaptation for me, but Clueless will definitely make it into my rotation for sure.
Well, I would maybe suggest trying out the TV show, just a couple ones here and there, because if I remember, I thought it was really good as well, even with a different share. I do want to talk about future Clueless adaptation. So an adaptation of the adaptation. This is from the Wikipedia page, so I will just read it verbatim. In October 2019, it was announced that CBS would be adapting the film into a drama series. It is said to be centered around Dion Davenport after Cher goes missing, and is described by Deadline Hollywood as a, quote, baby pink and bisexual blue tinted tiny sunglasses wearing oat milk latte and Adderall fueled look at what happens when the high school queen bee Cher disappears and her lifelong number 2 Dion steps into Cher's vacant Air Jordans, end quote. That's enough to make me fall off my chair, but we will continue. On August 14th, 2020, the series was moved to NBC Universal's streaming service Peacock, and in May of 2021, it was reported that the series would not be moving forward at Peacock and instead would be redeveloped at CBS Studios. In April 2025, it was reported that the drama series is back on track for development for the streaming service, with Alicia Silverstone reprising the role.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. I'm gonna have to process some of that for a minute.
Here's the thing, okay? If you can land Alicia Silverstone to come back and play Cher Horowitz 30 years later, why would you make it a drama? Why would you? I want it to be, especially when they have the blueprint of Clueless, the TV show that was wildly successful on the CW. You know, I don't understand why it would need to go into the drama category. I think when I read this, the only word or the only thought that came into my mind was, this is the definition of try hard, right?
Yes.
Have her living in Beverly Hills, doing hour episodes. Her and Josh can be divorced or separated, or her kids in Clueless or something like that. They already have a TV series of how it can work episodically for years.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I can't speak to the TV show because I haven't watched it yet, obviously, though I do plan to. But I even feel like, obviously, they had source material for Clueless. I feel like it'd be so easy to just take elements of the other novels and incorporate them. So, like, Anne Elliot in Persuasion is a little bit on the older side. So maybe now they're like, there's another female character that they're getting to know, and she is following the same storyline as Persuasion. I feel like that would work, and you could still do the comedy. You could still make it lighthearted. If anything needed to be done, I feel like that's the answer. But I agree with you. There's such a stellar blueprint. Why are you trying to mess it up?
Make it a 30-year reunion, high school reunion, and everybody reconnects.
Right.
You know, Saved by the Bell kind of did that. Now, I think that reboot did not work because they went from multi-cam to a single cam, and they were trying too much to it was ridiculous. But I do think that when we checked back in, Zach Morris was governor of California, which quite frankly, you love to see it. But Zach Morris is trash. But he was like still married to Kelly. Jesse was a guidance counselor. AC Slater was a gym coach. Like all of that stuff made sense. There was a new principal. There was, so I think it was that the format was changed into like almost more scripted. I haven't watched Bel Air, which I don't know if that's going or not, but that was kind of the follow-up sequel to Fresh Prince of Bel Air. But my understanding is that was super dramatic and chronicling people with guns and cheating in school and all this stuff. It's like, I don't need a drama take on a very light, fluffy property. I just don't. But will I give it a spin? Sure.
I have one more thing that I was thinking of as we were kind of wrapping this up. So we now have Clueless, that's based on Emma. Bridget Jones' Diary is lightly based off of Pride and Prejudice, and I haven't seen that movie in a long time to make those connections, but I just remembered it while we were discussing this. So I'm curious if there are any other movies that are kind of inspired by Jane Austen novels. So that might be something that we kind of have to research a little bit.
I'm sure that there are, and I think that'd be good. You know, I've never seen Bridget Jones.
It's been a minute for me, but that might be a fun one, especially since we have a mutual love of Pride and Prejudice. So we can definitely put that on the docket for the future.
I know. Here's the thing, though. I love Renee Zellweger as Dorothy Boyd.
Right.
I love her in Cold Mountain. I don't know that I love her in anything else.
That's fair.
Ranking it to a Little Debbie, Sarah, very hard for me. I think they're both going to be ones in the brownie line. So I would say Clueless is a cosmic brownie. Anything to do with it, if it's on TV. I could tell you that the commercial Alicia Silverstone was in was for Rakuten because it gets my attention. So let's go cosmic brownie on that. I think for Emma, I don't want to go Oreo brownie. I actually did enjoy reading it, even though I had some qualms with it.
Sure.
So I would say I think the apropos is it's what started it all 200 years before Clueless. Let's go with the traditional English brownie with the walnuts in it that is now discontinued from Little Debbie. But it was that brownie that has spurred all the other brownies. So
that's fair.
That's how I would go about it. How about you, Sarah?
So I'm going to go with, for Clueless, I'm going to go with an oatmeal cream pie. Delicious, been around for a while. I usually, if I pick an oatmeal cream pie, it's because it's been in my repertoire, and in this case it hasn't, but the source material certainly has. And then for Emma, I'm just gonna upgrade it to a double-decker oatmeal cream pie.
Very nice.
I love her with all her flaws.
I love that, though. I love that connection.
Yeah, it's great. This is a fun episode. I'm glad we got to make this connection and talk about it.
It's very different, but it's fun.
Feel free to message us with any Clueless or Emma thoughts on Instagram at FauxFamPod. You can email us foreignfamiliarpod@gmail.com, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for eavesdropping on us.
If you can't get enough of the Cousin Chronicles, head over to Instagram and follow at FauxFamPod for more in-depth info and behind-the-scenes details.
Or email us at foreignfamiliarpod@gmail.com.
Foreign and Familiar is a Flynn & Flynn production.
The theme is colorful by Allerlie von Nicolai.